welcome to Melissa Ingalls Yoga. My name is Melissa and today we are going to be doing a detox yoga flow. So we're really going to be looking at twisting postures, we're going to be looking at getting more into the torso, so if you have any tension into the side body, we'll really start to wring all of that out. I also just wanted to talk very briefly about what happens in the body when we twist. So there's always something, a part of the body that is rooting down in towards the ground. And then we have this lift, this length into the spine, rising upwards through the crown of the head. And then exhale, we start to wring out and really to find that twist around the body. So we really have this rotation of the middle spine. And that's where the twist really starts to happen. But we really have this upward lift as well. And while that is happening in the body, within the physical body, there is a wringing out of the internal organs. And that is really great for the digestive system, and it can be really energising as well. So if you have been feeling quite tired or quite sluggish, this is definitely the flow for you to really pick you up and allow you to move on with your day. So let's get started just in a comfortable seated position at the front of your mat. And that might be a Sukhasana, like an easy seated pose where you take one foot in front of the other. You might go for more of a half lotus or a full lotus. It might even be legs stretched out, however you feel. And this is an all levels flow as well. So we will be giving different options for more beginners and also for more advanced. It's a bit of a funky flow as well, so I hope you enjoy it. So coming down to the mat, starting in your comfortable seated position. We'll roll the shoulders away from the ears, find that lift, length into the spine. Just take the hands to face down on the knees, close off your eyes, finding that length in the back of the neck. And just bring yourself into the present moment. So forgetting what happened before you got to your mat today, forgetting about what's going to happen after your yoga practice today, and just bring yourself into the present moment. And just start to focus on the breath and taking a big full inhale through the nose and a big full exhale out through the nose. And as you inhale, maybe we can visualize the breath moving from the very base of the spine, and then it rises all the way up to the crown of the head. And then exhale, as you exhale, the breath moves back from the crown of the head all the way through to the base of the spine. And so we have this energy moving upwards, but then also this rooting down in towards the floor. And starting to find this energising breath. So as you inhale, maybe you invite in a little bit more energy. And as you exhale, just find a little bit more softness towards the ground. And if you're aware of your ujjayi breathing, so this big oceanic sounding breath or the sound of the sea, start to cultivate that breath. And this breath stays with us throughout our practice today and really supports the postures, so it really brings each posture to life. And take one last big inhale through the nose. One last big exhale. And slowly from here start to open through the eyes. Inhale, we'll reach the arms all the way up and out towards the sky. And take your gaze upwards, palms come to touch, and then exhale, palms float through heart center. And from here we'll take the right hand onto the left knee, take the left arm back behind you. You're welcome to take it onto a book or a block if you need that extra height to find that lift and lengthen. And then inhale, find that space. Exhale, just start to twist. So we've got the right shoulder moving inwards, the left shoulder is moving back behind you, navel is drawing inwards towards the spine, so we've got that support from the center. And you might take the gaze back behind you to complete the spinal twist up into the cervical spine. And take one last breath here. Exhale, final twist. And slowly just releasing, coming back to center, back to that seated position. We'll go for the other side. So inhale, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky, gazing upwards, palms touch. Exhale, palms float through heart center. This time we'll take the left hand onto the right knee. Right arm back behind you. Inhale, find that lift and length. And then exhale, start to twist. So every inhale we're finding that length. Every exhale we're finding this twist, and this posture is not a static posture, it just keeps revolving and keeps twisting around. And take one last breath here. And then slowly, when you're ready, just releasing, coming back to center. Inhale, we'll reach both arms up towards the sky. Maybe gaze goes up towards the ceiling. Shoulders roll away from the ears. And then exhale, start to walk the fingertips out in front of you. We'll go for a forward fold, just starting to get into the hips. So keep both sit bones rooting down evenly towards the ground. Inhale, find that length into the spine. And then exhale, start to fold forward. And it doesn't matter where you are in this posture. You might be completely upright and you're still feeling that stretch into the hips, or you might be all the way down to the ground, maybe forehead touches down, but try and keep the shoulders rolling away from the ears. And wherever you are, just take one last breath. And then inhale, lengthen. Exhale, this time we'll start to walk the hands all the way over towards the left side of the mat. Inhale, lengthen to the spine. Exhale, folding forward. So here we have this deeper stretch into the left hip, but we've got this length into the right side of the body. So just notice that, and just notice the sensations in the body. And take one last breath. And then inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, start to walk the hands all the way back to center. And this time we'll walk them all the way over to the opposite side, towards the right side. Inhale, find that space and length. Exhale, folding inwards. So again, this time we have this deeper hip stretch into the right outer hip, but also into the left side body. And taking one last breath here. And on your next inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, walking the hands all the way back to center and then all the way up to that seated position. And from here, we'll just cross the legs. So the right leg or the left leg comes in front, whichever one you didn't have beforehand. And rolling shoulders away from the ears. If you went for that half lotus or full lotus, just switch the cross of the legs. Inhale, we'll reach the arms up, big energizing breath. Exhale, palms through heart center. And this time we'll take the left hand onto the right knee, right arm back behind you. Inhale, find that lift. And exhale, find the twist. Every inhale you lengthen, every exhale you twist. And take one last breath. And then from here, slowly just coming back to center, we'll go for the other side. So inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, palms through heart center. This time, right hand plants onto the left knee. Left arm reaches back behind you. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, twist. Inhale, find that space. Exhale, find that softness as you twist. And slowly just releasing, coming back to center. Inhale, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhale, walking the fingertips out in front of you. Inhale and exhale, fold. We'll go for the hip stretch on the other side, and just notice if you have one hip that's a lot tighter than the other. And that's just something that we should just notice, and eventually with practice and with the breath, we can just bring our bodies into further balance. Relax the neck, take one last breath here. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, this time we'll walk the fingertips all the way over to the right side first. Inhale, and then exhale, fold. And hip stretch, side body stretch, all in one. And you probably notice that you get this really nice juicy stretch into the back muscles, maybe a little bit into the lower back or the middle back. And then inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, walking the hands all the way back to center and then all the way over to the opposite side. Inhale, find that space and length. Exhale, softening into the pose. One last breath. Inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, walking the hands all the way back to center and vertebrae by vertebrae stacking through the spine. We'll come to a seated position on the mats again. And when you're ready, just rolling into an all fours position onto your hands and your knees, and take your knees directly underneath your hips, hip width distance apart. We've got the wrists directly underneath the shoulders. We're trying to press all 10 knuckles in towards the mat, rolling shoulders away from the ears. Navel is drawing in towards the spine. And then we'll go for a few rounds of cat and cow here. So pressing the earth away. Inhale, drop the belly, lifting upwards through the heart and the chest. Exhale, pressing and rounding in towards the spine so the shoulder blades are spreading wide. Inhale, gazing forward, concaving into the spine. And then exhale, rounding into the spine, so really drawing the navel in and up here. So imagine that you're hugging this big beach ball. One last round. Inhale, softening. Exhale, contracting. And slowly from here, just coming back to center, back to that neutral spine position. And then flexing that right foot, start to extend that back leg back behind you. We have toes down on towards the ground, but then start to lift the toes up. And we're squaring off that hip. So the right hip moves down so it's completely in line with the left hip. And we're flexing into that back foot. Ribs are hugging in away from the floor. Inhale through the nose here. And then exhale from here, we're going to round into the spine, drawing that right knee in towards the nose, pressing the earth away. Inhale, extend that right leg back behind you. Exhale, this time we'll take the right knee over towards the left tricep. Inhale, extend that right leg back behind you. Last round. Exhale, rounding knee towards nose. Inhale, extend that right leg back behind you. Exhale, rounding knee over towards the left tricep. Inhale, extending that right leg back behind you, trying to keep the shoulders even and square in space. And then exhale, drop that right knee down to the ground. Going for the other side. Lots of core, I know. Inhale, extending left leg back behind you this time. And squaring off the hip, finding your stability here, finding your balance. Slight tuck of the tailbone as well really helps you to engage into that core. Exhale when you're ready, rounding knee to nose, shoulder blades spreading wide. Inhale, extending left leg back behind you. This time exhale, left knee over towards the right elbow or right tricep. See if you can hover it off the ground. Inhale, extending left leg back behind you. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Inhale, left leg extends back behind you, last round. Exhale, rounding knee over towards the right elbow, right tricep. See if you can take it up into the armpit. Inhale, extending left leg back behind you. And this time, exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the foot back behind you. Coming back to that tabletop position. We're going to tuck the toes under, start to lift the hips all the way up and back and come into our first downward facing dog. Heels dropping down towards the ground, the shoulders are rolling away from the ears. We've got a slight tuck of the tailbone. And feel free to have a slight bend into the knees, maybe resting torso towards thighs, starting to find that length into the spine. We're rooting down through index finger and thumb. And then maybe you start to straighten out through the legs so the heels drop down towards the ground. And settling in, you might even bend one leg, straighten out the other, swivel the hips from side to side. And take one last big breath in here, settling in. Exhale out. And then look forward between the hands. We'll step or hop the feet to the front of the mat. Slowly walking towards the front of the mat. Take your feet hip width distance apart. Slight bend into the knees. And we'll interlace the fingers around opposite elbows. Just hang the head heavy. And swaying a little bit from side to side, ragdoll. You might start to straighten out through the legs. And shifting the weight back, shifting the weight forward. And slowly, when you're ready, just releasing. Slight bend into the knees. Take the left fingertips or the left hand onto the floor. Maybe it's again onto blocks or a book. Bending into that left knee. Start to straighten out through that right leg and inhale, extend the right arm up towards the sky. So we come into a twist. And you might gaze down, you might gaze to the side or gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And take one last breath. And then exhale slowly, placing the right hand down onto the floor. Maybe it's fingertips, maybe it's palm. Deep bend into the right knee, squaring off the hips. Inhale, start to extend left arm up towards the sky. You can always take left hand onto hip as well if it's too much for the shoulder. And take one last breath here. And then exhale, slowly releasing back to that forward fold, bending into the knees and rolling up, vertebrae by vertebrae, stacking through the spine. Head is the last thing to come up, shoulders roll away from the ears, taking your time. We'll make it to the front of the mat into a standing Tadasana. So take your toes to touch, heels slightly apart. Hands meet through heart center, bowing, chin slightly towards chest. And closing off your eyes here, noticing the breath. And when you're ready, set an intention for your practice today. So how do you wish to feel as you flow? Maybe you want to feel more energized. Maybe you think of one positive word that you want to take forward into your day. And slowly, when you're ready, opening through the eyes, sealing that intention. And we'll start with a few sun salutations. So we'll go for a few rounds of sun salutation A. And I'm going to give options as I go along with this. But if you are a more advanced person and you really want to hop back into a chaturanga or anything like that, please feel free to do so. Go with what suits you best. Inhale, we'll reach the arms all the way up to the sky, gazing upwards, palms touch. Exhale, palms float through heart center as you hinge from the hips, diving your chest down into a forward fold. Beginners, feel free to bend into the knees if you need to. And then inhale, hands go onto the shins or onto the floor, lengthen out through that spine. Exhale, planting hands down onto the floor. We'll step the feet back for this first round. And pressing the floor away. Plank pose, hold, breathe. Feel free to drop the knees down to the floor, pressing the earth away. Maybe tuck the toes under. Hold for one last breath, really firing up into the core. And then when you're ready, we'll go for this first chaturanga. So either dropping the knees down to the ground if they're not there already, shifting the weight slightly forward, bending the elbows, and we'll lower the chest all the way down to the floor. And then tent the fingers out towards the side and inhale, just pressing the chest upwards. And coming into cobra, and then exhale, folding back down towards the mat. Inhale, rising upwards, cobra. With the breath, exhale, folding back down towards the mat. Last time, inhale, cobra. And exhale, all the way back down to the mat. And plant the hands underneath the shoulders and tuck the toes under. Press the floor away, either into a full plank or a half plank. And then we'll send the hips all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths in here. So just checking in with your downward facing dog, making sure that the feet are hip width distance apart. Crown of the head and the neck is relaxed down towards the mat. The biceps are rolling inwards, the triceps are rolling outwards, and the breath is strong. That's the most important part. Taking one last big breath in. Exhale out through the nose, then look forward between the hands. We'll step the feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, find that space and length into the spine. Exhale, folding forward, bending the knees. Inhale, reaching the arms all the way up. And exhale, palms back through heart center. Inhale, second round, reaching the arms up. Exhale, folding over the legs. This is really energizing. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, planting, hands stepping both feet back, high plank. Exhale, shifting forward, either knees down onto the ground or maybe press into a full chaturanga, maybe hover, hover, hold. And then inhale, rolling all the way through, upward facing dog, maybe lifting the thighs off the ground. And exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing. Let's take 2 and 3. Last 2 breaths, 4. And 5. Looking forward between the hands. We'll step or lightly hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, folding forward. Bending the knees. Inhale, reaching the arms all the way up. And then exhale, hands back through heart center. From here, bending the knees, we'll sink into a chair pose, Utkatasana. So we're sinking the hips down towards the ground. We're shifting the weight back into the heels, maybe lifting all 10 toes. Knees squeezing towards each other, maybe hands through heart center. Or inhale, lifting the arms up towards the sky. Pinky fingers are turning slightly inwards, so we've got the shoulders rolling away from the ears. Take one last breath here. And then exhale, hands meet through heart center. You can ease off if you need to. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, start to twist towards the right side. And you're welcome to stay upright here, or maybe left elbow outside of the right knee. And one common thing that happens in this twisting chair is that left knee likes to sneak out in front of you, the right hip likes to move back, and we're trying to keep the hips even in space. You might gaze up towards the sky, maybe sinking slightly deeper. Take one last breath. And then inhale, coming back to center. I'll be nice. Reach the arms up towards the sky. And exhale, sink back into your chair. This time we've got right elbow coming towards the left side of the mat. Feel free to stay completely upright here, or maybe right elbow outside of left knee. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, start to twist. Big, strong breath. Keep sinking the hips down towards the ground. Keep lifting the crown of the head forward, tailbone rooting back. And then slowly, when you're ready, releasing, coming back to center. Inhale, one breath up, chair pose. Oh, I know. Exhale, folding over the legs, straighten out through the legs, forward fold. Take a breath here, just marinate here just for a moment. And then inhale, lengthening into the spine. Exhale, planting the hands down, stepping both feet back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga, either knees to the ground or full chaturanga. Feel free to modify whenever you need to. Inhale, lifting up through the chest, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog, pressing the earth away. Feel free to stay here in this downward facing dog, or inhale, start to reach that right leg all the way up and back behind you, so energizing out through that right heel. Keeping those floating ribs, hugging inwards. And take one last big breath in. Exhale, rounding, press the earth away, knee towards nose. And then using your core, sneak that right foot in between the hands. Drop that back heel down. So the toe is turning inwards, the heel is slightly outwards. Right hip back, left hip forward, deep bend into the front knee, and then inhale, reaching the arms up. Warrior one. And take a few moments here just to find your stability, to find your stance in this warrior. Imagine that you're trying to spread the mat apart from in between your heels. And take one last breath, maybe gazing upwards towards the sky. And then exhale, planting the hands down, stepping back, tucking the back toes under, either straight back to a downward facing dog, depending on how you're feeling today, or chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. And second side, inhale, left leg reaches up towards the sky this time. Keeping that hip square to start with, so the left toes are turning down. And the tendency here is for the shoulders to move away. Maybe one elbow likes to bend as well, so keep everything energizing, keep everything straight and strong. And then exhale, rounding, knee towards nose. Press the earth away. Imagine that you can kiss your knee. And then step that left foot in between the hands. Drop that back heel down. Rooting down through that back heel. Squaring off those hips. Front knee is directly stacked on top of the ankle. And then inhale, reach the arms up, finding your Virabhadrasana one. Warrior one. And taking one last breath here. And then exhale, planting hands, either downward facing dog or vinyasa, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Breathing. And taking one last inhale through the nose. One last exhale. And then looking forward between the hands, you might step or lightly hop towards the front of the mat. And take your toes, touch, heels apart. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, folding inwards, bending the knees, sink your seat. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And from here, let's come into Kali Mudra. So interlace the fingers and point the index finger up towards the sky as you start to sink the hips down towards the ground. You might stay here, or maybe if you want a little more, you might start to extend fingertips out in front of you, hovering the chest off the thighs. Fiery pose, take one last breath. Inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky. Straighten out through the legs, gazing up, maybe slight back bend, maybe slight heart opener. And then exhale, standing upright, palms meet through heart center. Inhale through the nose. And exhale out. And finding calmness of the breath. I'm going to add one thing on to this final round. So I like to add on and going to my warrior sequence. So this is what we are going to do. Bending into the knees. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky chair pose. From here, exhale, lower, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, stepping back, downward dog or high plank. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, inhale, right leg reaches up towards the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the right foot all the way through in between the hands. Drop that back heel down, inhale, rooting down, reach the arms all the way up, warrior one. From here, inhale. Exhale, let's open this up to a warrior two. So we're going to allow the heels to be in line with each other. You might widen your stance ever so slightly. And then from here, start to extend the arms out into a warrior two. Shoulders and hips are square towards the side of the mat. The front knee is moving towards the pinky toe edge. Gaze is over the front little finger. Take one last breath. And then flip the front palm up towards the sky. Inhale, reverse your warrior. And keep the deep bend into the front knee. Keep rotating chest up towards the sky, but keep hugging those ribs in so it really supports the core. And slowly coming back. Warrior two. Straighten out through that front leg from here. Let's go for Trikonasana, triangle pose. I'm going to turn and face you as well. So take the hands onto the hips, right toes pointing forward. And then start to extend the arms out. Gazing forward, hinging from the front hip. Allow that right hand to float down either onto the shin, maybe it's the ankle, and inhale, start to extend the left arm up towards the sky. I've turned back around because I didn't want to confuse you. And keeping that right hip hugging in, keeping left hip moving towards the back of the mat. Right shoulder away from the ear, take one last breath. And then gazing down, inhale, start to rise all the way up to center. Take your hands onto your hips and then turn the hips towards the front of the mat. And you might step that left foot slightly out towards the side. We're going to go for pyramid pose. So squaring off the hips. Both legs are straight this time. Inhale, lift and lengthen out through the spine. And then exhale, folding forward over that front leg. You might have a slight bend into the knee. Maybe keeping hands on hips or extending the arms all the way out. Exhale, folding inwards with that length. Feel free as well to take hands on blocks or onto books or the floor. And take one last breath. And then inhale, find that length into the spine. And we're going to go for a twisting triangle from here. So you might take the left fingertips or the left hand onto the floor inside of that right foot. You might take it onto blocks if you need that extra height, or maybe left hand onto the shin or ankle. That makes it a lot more tricky with balance. But inhale, wherever you are, find that space. Exhale, take the right hand onto the lower back and just check that the sacrum is square. And then from here, start to twist the chest open towards the right side. Maybe staying here, or inhale, extend the right arm up towards the sky. What I always like to do in this posture is I like to have a slight bend into the right knee, lean back, find that twist, and then maybe you start to straighten out through the leg. And taking one last breath here. And when you're ready, gazing down, slight bend into the front knee. We're going to shift it forward into a warrior three. So extending left leg back behind you, lots of balance. Turning left toes down towards the floor. You might extend arms out towards the side. If you want even more, you might extend the arms forward. Taking one last breath here, finding your balance. If you wobble or fall, that's absolutely fine. Just keep a playful spirit and come back into the pose. This is how we build strength. And then slowly bending into that standing right knee. start to come into a standing position at the front of the mat. You're welcome to toe tap that left toe down and then start to hug that left knee in towards the chest. Stand up tall. And keep breathing. And maybe find a smile. And options here, we're going to go for a twist on the other side. So you might take the right hand outside of the left knee and start to extend that left arm back behind you. Ooh, I'm wobbling around myself. Clearly don't have any balance today. You're welcome to stay here. If you want the deeper variation of this posture, soften through that right knee, start to take hold of the outer edge of that left foot. Maybe then you start to extend left leg out. Find the twist. Wherever you are, take one last breath. Ooh, I'm falling. It's tricky. And then when you're ready, releasing. Come in to stand at the front of the mat. If you were like me and you had a few wobbles and had a few falls, just shake the legs out. Take a moment. Hands come onto the hips before we go for the other side. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, folding forward. Let's take our 2-piece fingers and hook our 2-piece fingers around the big toes. Inhale, find space, and then exhale, folding inwards. Uttanasana, forward fold. Rolling shoulders away from the ears. Shifting the weight into the balls of the feet. Taking one last breath. And then inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, taking the hands onto the hips, slight bend into the knees, and with a flat back, we'll roll all the way back up to a standing position, front of the mat. And take your toes to touch heel slightly apart. We'll go for the other side, so bending into the knees, sink your seat. Inhale, reach the arms up, chair pose. I know we've done a lot of these today. Take one last breath here. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, lengthen to the spine. Exhale, stepping or hopping back, high plank. Exhale, either knees to the ground or lowering chaturanga. Inhale, lifting the chest, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. And second side, inhale, left leg reaches up towards the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, stepping the foot all the way through. From here, drop that back heel down. Inhale, rising up. Warrior one. Finding the breath here. You might even close off your eyes. And then your next inhale through the nose. And then exhale, start to turn the chest and the shoulders towards the side of the mat. And you might widen your stance ever so slightly so the heels are aligning with each other. The right toes are pointing forward, left toes pointing towards the front of the mat. And then on your next inhale, extend both arms out, warrior two. Keeping those ribs knitting in, keep curling that tailbone under. And knees moving more towards the pinky toe edge. And this is such a powerful pose, so just feel your strength and your power in this posture. And then from here, flip the front palm up towards the sky and inhale, reverse your warrior. So we're leaning up and back, but keeping that deep bend into the front knee. One last breath. And then slowly just coming back to center, back to that warrior two. Straighten out through that front leg. Maybe walking the back toes in ever so slightly to shorten your stance. And then gazing forward, hinging from that front hip, taking left hand down either onto shin, maybe it's ankle, and inhale, extending right arm up towards the sky. Trikonasana, triangle pose. So in this posture, just keep leaning back, keep rooting down through that back heel, lightly pressing into the left hand or maybe just hovering it as well. Taking one last breath. Gazing down. Inhale, start to rise all the way up to center. Take your hands onto your hips and then start to turn the hips towards the front of the mat and walk the right toes out towards the side. So they're on two separate lines here, and the right toes are turning slightly inwards, the heel is slightly outwards. Left hip back, right hip forward, finding your stability first. And then inhale, lifting up through the chest. Exhale, folding forward. So we have a slight twist through the torso here, so the right ribs are moving towards the left leg. Maybe staying with hands onto the hips or maybe extending fingertips out. Again, you're welcome to have a slight bend into the knee to support that hamstring. We want to try and feel the stretch into the belly of the hamstring rather than into the hamstring attachment. So really start to ease off or engage more into that quadricep. Take one last breath here. And then inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, this time taking right hand onto the mat, inside of that left foot. Maybe staying here, or maybe fingertips or block, and taking the left hand onto your lower back. We're going for a twisting triangle. Inhale, lengthen into the spine, and then exhale, start to twist towards the left side. Maybe a slight bend into the left knee. Find that deeper twist and then maybe start to straighten it or keep it fully bent as well. If it's really hard to keep that back heel off on the ground, you might come onto the ball of that foot as well. That's also another option. Take one last breath, really wringing everything out. I know it's a tricky pose to hold. And then from here, gazing down. Now you know what's coming, so it might be easier on the other side, and hopefully I don't fall out of balance either. Bending into that front foot, take hands onto hips and start to shift the weight into that front foot, extending right leg back behind you. Warrior 3, maybe arms out to the side, maybe hands forward, smile, hold, breathe, stay here. One last breath. Bending into that left knee, start to sneak that right knee in towards the chest, stand up tall. If you need to toe tap, please do, or just hug the right knee straight into the chest. Really root down through that left big toe, because that's your anchor, that's your glue. And then we're going to start to twist towards the right side this time. So left hand comes outside of the right knee. And then start to maybe extend right arm back behind you, or maybe take hand onto the hip. Maybe staying here, or if you want that deeper variation, maybe coming forth the outer edge of that right foot. Extending right leg out. Take one last breath. And slowly coming back to center, releasing, shaking out through the legs just for a moment. Take the feet as wide as the mat. The toes are turning slightly outwards, heels are slightly inwards. We're going to go for Malasana. Start to bend into the knees, start to sink hips down to the floor. You're welcome to stay more upright or come all the way down into this pose. Lifting up through the chest, shoulders away from the ears. If you've got the elbows, really press them into the knees. One last breath. And from here, plant the hands down onto the floor. We're going to go for a crow pose, Bakasana. So hands plant down onto the floor firmly. And take the knees to the outer upper arms, slight bend into the elbows, almost as if they are chaturanga arms. And from here you might shift the weight forward, you might shift the weight back, just noticing what it's like to get into hands. Maybe you start to lift one leg off, maybe it's the other, maybe you hover and hold if you've got it, breathe. If you're working on it, just stick with it. Building lots of strength, take one last breath. Maybe starting to straighten out through the arms. And then we'll come back, Malasana. And dropping hips down to the ground. Let's take a nice wrist stretch. So let's take the knuckles to touch. Backs of the hands to touch. And then take hands down onto the floor. We'll come to a kneeling position. Let's just sit in a child's pose. And toes to touch, knees as wide as the mat, start to sink the hips towards heels. Extending the arms out, well-deserved child's pose. Reconnecting to the breath. And in this child's pose, when you're ready, inhale, start to extend the right arm up towards the sky. And guess what? Exhale, twist, threading right arm underneath the left arm. Maybe staying here with the left arm extended out in front of you, or inhale, extend left arm up towards the ceiling. Maybe you go for the bind, flipping left hand back behind you. You might take hold of the right inner thigh. And as with all twists, we're finding that rooting in towards the ground and then the rising upwards. Take one last breath. And slowly, when you're ready, just releasing back into that child's pose. Left hand reaches up towards the sky on a big inhale. Exhale, threading left arm underneath the right arm. Maybe keeping right hand extended out. Maybe left arm reaches up towards the sky. Maybe you take it back behind you. Inner left thigh. And keeping the sit bones rooting down towards the heel as that right shoulder rotates up towards the ceiling. Keeping that core engagement. One last breath. Slowly releasing. And slowly, when you're ready, just rolling up to a kneeling position. And from here, we're going to go for a few rounds of camel pose. So when you have done lots of twists within the body, and when you found a lot of mobility throughout the spine, that's when you can start to maybe move into your back bends, and maybe you can go slightly deeper into your back bends, but just really be mindful of the spine. So you might pad up your mat. So we've always prepared our spine for these back bends. So coming up onto this kneeling position. And imagine that you're pressing a block in between your inner thighs, so you've got some engagement there. And we don't want to scoop the tailbone under too much, but we don't want to stick it out. We want to find that neutral spine position. And taking the hands back behind you, squeezing elbows in towards each other, rolling shoulders away from the ears. Start to lift upwards through the chest. Leaning back, imagine that you've got a piece of string pulling you all the way up to the sky from your heart center. Taking one last breath here. Slowly releasing, sitting hips back down towards heels. And when you're ready, we'll go for camel pose or Shavasana number 2. So sweeping arms back behind you, big breaststroke. Taking hands onto the lower back, drawing the lower abdominals in as you start to lift the chest, and we don't want to dump any weight into the lower back, so we want to lengthen into the lower back and then find this lift up and over. So imagine that we're lifting up and over a bar or a Pilates ball. And if you want deeper variations as well, you're welcome to tuck your toes under and see if you can take hold of your ankles. Or maybe you untuck the toes and take hold of the ankles that way. But wherever you are, just keep breathing and lifting upwards through the heart. And taking one last breath. And then slowly taking hands onto the hips and rising all the way back up to center, sending hips down towards heels. And for me, it's really nice to pause in between back bends. So it allows the spine to just elongate and realign. It's a really nourishing place for the back. Let's take the final round. Ustrasana, camel pose. So either toes tucked, untucked, staying with hands on the hips is completely fine. Inhale, rolling the chest open. And venturing into whichever version of the posture suits you best. And slowly, when you're ready, taking hands onto hips, rising all the way back up, sinking hips down towards heels. When you're ready, just releasing the pad of the mat if you had that. We'll come to a seated position. And let's take the soles of the feet together, knees come out wide. And maybe take more of a diamond shape or a Baddha Konasana where you've got the hips towards the heels. Taking hands onto the shins or the ankles. Inhale, lifting upwards through the chest. And then exhale, folding forward. Go easy into this forward fold. We've just done lots of back bends, so you can probably really feel it into the back. And we're really starting to release into the spine, but also starting to get a nice deep stretch into the hips. Take one last breath here. And then slowly start to rise all the way back up to center. Drawing knees in towards the chest. And when you're ready, just extending both legs out, flexing into that right foot, either taking the right foot into the ankle, calf, inner thigh, and allow that right knee to move out to the side. Inhale, reaching the arms up, and exhale, folding forward. Go for Janushasana. Have a slight bend into the left knee if you need it. If you want to go for more of the half lotus variation, flexing into that right foot and allowing the right foot to move towards the wrist crease, the hip crease, and then allow that right knee to move down towards the mat. If half lotus is in your practice and you feel like going there, please feel free to go for that option. If not, just staying in your forward fold. Maybe hands come either side of the heels. Maybe you go beyond and you take hold of the wrist. One last breath. And then inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, slowly release the pose. We'll take the right knee out towards the side. We'll take the sole of that right foot and keep it inside of that left hip and just sit up tall. So you should be sideways on your mat now. And take the left elbow onto the left knee. Inhale, start to sweep that right arm up towards the sky or all the way up and over by the ear. And if you want to go deeper, you might take that left hand and take hold of that right knee. And inhale, leaning into the posture, you might take hold of the outer edge of that foot and start to lean back. Oh, my side body feels incredibly tight today. Really nice to release it. And slowly, when you're ready, start to rise all the way back up to center. Extending now, right leg out. Coming back to center at the front of the mat, flexing into that left foot, ankle, calf, inner thigh, left knee moves out to the side. And keeping the hips even in space, you might even rock that left knee back ever so slightly. Inhale, reaching the arms up, and exhale, folding forward. Again, half lotus option if that's in your practice, but flexing into left toes. Just melting into whichever posture that you've chosen. For one last breath. And then slowly inhale, rising all the way back up to center. This time we'll take that left knee out towards the left side of the mat, turning the hips slightly towards the side. Right elbow comes onto the right knee. Inhale, left arm reaches all the way up and over by the ear. Maybe staying here or taking hold of the knee and the foot. You might even go towards that bind, it doesn't need to be there. And taking one last breath. And slowly releasing, extending both legs out in front of you. This time we'll take the soles of the feet down onto the ground. Extend the arms forward and using your core vertebrae by vertebrae, we'll roll down onto our backs. And I'm going to move my microphone out the way. Hug both knees into the chest. And let's take one final twist. So dropping the knees all the way over to the left side, extending right arm out. Supine twist. Keeping both shoulder blades onto the mat. Doesn't matter if the knees need to lift off. You might stay here if you want a deeper variation. You might wrap up for eagle legs, taking the right knee on top of the left knee. Maybe intertwining, interlinking the legs. Slowly coming back to center. Drawing knees into the chest. Let's go for the other side. So knees drop over towards the right side, extending left arm out. Supine twist. This is always my favorite posture to finish with. Maybe it's eagle legs if you haven't done so already. And slowly releasing the posture, hugging the knees back into the chest. And then extending right leg out, extending left leg out. We'll turn the palms up to face the sky. We'll move it into our final posture, Shavasana. And Shavasana is definitely my favourite yoga posture at the very end of practice. Just taking a big inhale through the nose. And a big, soft, slow exhale. And just maybe imagine the breath is moving in from the very base of the neck and down the back of the neck as if it was warm honey. And that element of warmth can just move from the base of the neck in towards the shoulder blades, and the shoulder blades can soften towards the mat. And down the muscles of the spine, and they too can just release into the hips and the inseam of the legs, towards the ankles. And the body can just feel completely heavy in this posture, and the ground can rise up to meet you and support you. And just know that you're always supported by the earth. Slowly, when you're ready, start to bring your awareness back towards the breath. And wiggling the fingers and the toes. Inhale, full body stretch, reaching your arms all the way up and overhead, maybe drawing legs towards each other. Exhale, hugging both knees into the chest, rocking a little bit from side to side. And we'll roll all the way over to the right side of the mat, maybe resting head on to the right arm, planting firmly down through the left hand. Slowly we'll just rise up to a comfortable seated position as we started on our mats today. And take your palms through heart center, bowing chin towards chest. And give yourself some gratitude for the time that you've spent on your mats today, for sharing your energy, for sharing your presence, and for keeping a playful spirit. I hope you feel more energized. And you can take this feeling of yoga out into your day. Thank you so much. Namaste. And thank you all so much for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button. It is on the YouTube at the very, very end. Thank you so much. Namaste.